And welcome to a candidate forum featuring the candidates for the Rancho Cordova City Council. My name is Carol Goldberg and I'm the moderator for this forum. Our candidates here today are, on my far right, Brian Danzel, next to me, David Sander, on my left, Donald Terry, and on my far left, Robert McGarvey. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
The City Council is an at-large City Council. There are 3 seats open, and voters will be able to vote for 3 of the 4 people sitting here today. This forum is co-sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and by the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission. The forum is taped live in the chambers of the Sacramento County Board of Supervisors chambers. It is being taped for rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14. We are also live streaming on www.sacramentocable.tv. The League of Women Voters is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization of women and men established to promote the informed and active participation by voters in our government. The League does not support, oppose, or evaluate political candidates in any way. On occasion, the League has taken stands on ballot propositions, and that is only done after careful study. The format for today's forum will be as follows. Opening statements by each candidate will be 90 seconds long. Each candidate has 1 minute to respond to questions by our panelists, and each candidate has 1 minute to close our statement. Today's panelists are Jared Goyette of the Sacramento Press and Chris Middaugh of the Grapevine Independent. Thank you. Welcome for coming. Welcome. Anyway, so let us get started here first with an opening statement by Mr. Danzel.
Great. Thank you.
That's 90 seconds.
Good morning. My name is Brian Danzel. I'm a longtime resident of Rancho Cordova. The one thing that I truly cannot live without is my community. I've been there for over 35 years. I know my community like the back of my hand. I've grown up in our parks, on our streets, and in our schools. It is a big part of my life and who I am. I've grown up there. I was elected by you in 2010 as Cordova Recreation and Park District Board member. I've served our park board now for 2 years, and the things that I fought for there is fiscal discipline and transparency in the budget. I've worked very hard as a volunteer for our community, as a father, as a Boy Scout leader. I enjoy everything I do. I enjoy our community. I've watched our community grow, and I want to continue to help our community grow as best I can. I think there's a lot of things that we can change in our community and make us a better place. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next statement will be from David Sander.
Hi, I'm David Sander. I am one of the original 5 city council members in the city of Rancho Cordova that we incorporated almost 10 years ago, along with Bob McGarvey, who's also a candidate here today. And I'm serving Rancho Cordova this year as mayor. In short, I believe in Rancho Cordova, and I am very proud of the all-America city that we've built. We have cut crime in all categories. Violent crime, for example, is down more than 32%, and we're becoming one of the safer communities in Sacramento County. We have beautified Folsom Boulevard, what some refer to as our Main Street. We found over $25 million in grant dollars to do so, so we haven't even done that on the back of our own taxpayers. We have raised the standards in our neighborhoods with innovative policing. We've done intensive code enforcement, novel animal control strategies, and we were the first in the county to do proactive apartment inspections, all things that are part of our Strong Neighborhoods program that's won national acclaim. We brought business to Rancho Cordova. The Capitol Village developments become a national model for smart planning. We brought a major Target remodel, Kohl's, Ross, Coriana Plaza, Walgreens, CVS, Lowe's, and an entertainment complex that's coming soon. And we've dealt with some eyesores that people in the community are familiar with, like the Stagger Inn and many substandard apartment complexes, which we've torn down. But there is much more to do, and I think we are posed on the edge of true greatness. Crime can be lower, standards can be higher. We need more things for our kids to do. We need better partnerships with our schools. And we need more jobs in Rancho Cordova. I believe that I have the skills to get us there.
You'll have more time to talk later. Our third opening statement will be given by Donald Terry to my left.
Well, thank you to the League and everybody else for hosting us. My name's Donald Terry. I'm a candidate for the Rancho Cordova City Council, and I'm a school board member for the Sacramento City Unified School District Area 3, which incorporates parts of the county, parts of the city of Sacramento, and the western edge of Rancho Cordova. And amazingly enough, in Rancho Cordova, out of the 4 school districts that we have in our city, I'm the only school board member that resides within our city limits. I've been honored to serve my communities for the last 4 years, including our communities in Rancho Cordova. Last year alone, I worked with this council, with Mr. McGarvey and the mayor and a lot of other folks in our community to save A.M. Wynn Elementary from closing. Not once, but twice. And this year we actually relaunched it as a K-8 public Waldorf elementary school. Something I'm very, very proud of, and I think something that will pay huge dividends in our neighborhood. And it'll actually become the first public Waldorf K-12 system in any neighborhood in the country. And it's going to be in our neighborhood in Rancho Cordova in the Lincoln Village area. My number one priorities as a city council member will be to address public safety. The number one issue that has been that residents say each and every year when we do a city survey is that they want to be safer and that they're concerned about their safety within our communities, and that will be my number one priority. And I look forward to sharing more about what I'd like to do as a city council member as we have this conversation.
Thank you very much. Our final statement will be given by Robert McGarvey.
Hello, thank you very much for the League of Women Voters for giving us the opportunity to talk today. We began our quest for cityhood a long time ago, but in the 9 years we've been a city, we've been able to do some rather phenomenal things. As David said, the All-America City, we began in 2005 working on Kilgore Cemetery. It was a historical cemetery, and it's been rededicated in 2007. It is one of the most beautiful ones you'll find around, and I think that's something that all of us are very proud of. I also was able to start in 2006 the honoring the Met veterans on Veterans Day and Memorial Day. That is something that we really need to do because we have over 90,000 veterans in Sacramento County. And that's definitely something that's close to my heart. We have some things that are going on right now. We have the planning for the entertainment center. It'll give us an opportunity to have people go bowling again. That's one of the things we've been asked for. You can walk into a movie theater and not have anything more than just driving a mile or so and you can go to a show. And the entertainment center is also going to have a place for the kids, for people who work there, and for the residents. So I'm looking forward to doing this and many, many more things. But there's so much to say and not enough time to say it sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you very much for all your opening statements. We'll move on now to the question and answer format. The candidates will be shifting among who answers first, but for this first question from Chris Middaugh, Mr. Danzel will answer first. 1 minute.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Thank you for being here. The city of Rancho Cordova is just finishing up a $25 million renovation of Folsom Boulevard, which has included street improvements, sidewalks, street lights, new greenery, and yet along the boulevard there remain several properties privately owned that are blighted, dilapidated, deteriorating, in some cases downright dangerous. As a member of the Rancho Cordova City Council, what do you think you would be able to do to help facilitate renovation or removal of these kinds of properties?
Wonderful, thank you, Chris. Some of the ways that I would do that is we need to work with these property owners. We need to talk to them, let them know the laws and the rules that do exist in Rancho Cordova. Let them know where we want our standards of life to be. Their businesses do affect our community. The more money they make, the better. It brings people in. It makes their business more desirable to be at. We turning around and talking to them, showing them the benefits of being a clean business would be so great to the community. It drive economics completely through our community. It'd make residents want to be there, make people want to move to Rancho Cordova for these reasons. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The next person to answer the question will be Mr. Sander, and we can repeat the question if you'd like that.
No, that's fine. Folsom Boulevard, major emphasis in the city of Rancho Cordova. As I mentioned, we've just done the major expansion there and spent a lot of money improving some of the infrastructure. You have to recognize in these situations that private owners have property rights. We need to help them also recognize that they have equal responsibilities that come along with those property rights. And we do that through very vigorous code enforcement and enforcement of the rules that exist regarding property maintenance. Even with those tools, though, we are sometimes frustrated by recalcitrant owners. The big picture here, we need to create economic opportunity and allow people to succeed with new uses along Folsom Boulevard by eliminating a lot of the barriers that typically reside in new development and aging corridors, infrastructure that needs updating, et cetera. Government needs to focus more on knocking down those barriers.
Thank you very much. Mr. Terry.
Well, I'm going to take a little bit different approach on this question, because I think your question was really about the blight and things like the First Value Inn and the Stagger Inn, which the cities work to address. Looking at the eyesores and the problems right now and making sure that we're holding those owners accountable specifically to the things that are driving down values and driving people away, I think is the first thing to look at. I think another conversation that tends to happen a lot is around a lot of the vacant lots and how we're going to zone those to build, large-scale mixed use and a lot of other things, which I think in general is a good idea. But I think when we're looking at our zoning, when we're looking at the infrastructure and the other things that we need to do, the first thing we need to be focusing on is what's driving down, what is the problem, and then what are the opportunities in the future. And so I think focusing back in on, hotels that have, caught fire 5 times are much more of a concern and a focus for the city than what are we going to do with, bringing in a community college and all those other things. I think those are going to maybe even be a little bit further down the road once we get our zoning and our other investments in line.
Thank you. And the last person to answer this question will be Robert McGarvey.
The properties on Folsom Boulevard, we've been facing for a long time the problems there. There are a few that I can think of that are just empty, never have been used, and the owners apparently don't have any plans on doing anything with them. They're waiting for the future to make them more valuable. Well, that happened in the past. Well, nothing really is done with them, and right now they're not any more valuable than they were before. In fact, the value has gone down, according to the Sacramento County Assessor's Office. So we're doing everything we can to convince them that we will help them in any way possible to convince them that that's going to be to their benefit to use that property to the best you can possibly think of. One I can think of is the used to be Cordova Lodge, that was Cordova Inn, and we finally came to an agreement with the Walgreens. And Walgreens is building a new place now where it used to be a rundown hotel, and it's something that I think is going to be really improved, and it's going to make everyone in Rancho Cordova, anyone that goes through, really thank us for that.
Thank you. And we will move to our second question, which will be asked by Jared Goyette. It'll be answered first by Mr. Sander.
I'm going to ask a related question to what we were just talking about. Mr. Sander, as you well know, the city's failed attempt to use eminent domain to acquire 9.5 acres of land north of Folsom will, when all said is done, have cost the city more than $2 million. Do you think it's appropriate to use eminent domain as a tool for development? And in that particular case, what can the city do to encourage the current owner to either develop the site or find a buyer?
I am fully cognizant of the issues around eminent domain, and frankly an opponent of eminent domain in almost all cases. The exceptions for me are when it is required by some public utility, whether that is a fire station, a school, in this case a community college. I think we need to restrict ourselves as government to only doing those sorts of takings when negotiations have failed, but yet the public improvement is still necessary. So in this particular case, frankly, I think there would have been a great outcome had the state of California not eliminated redevelopment and the Supreme Court not decided that that was in fact a legal decision in the middle of our process. In essence, the city was halfway through a deal and the state said you can no longer continue, so you must end now. And unfortunately, the terms of that ending were not favorable to any of the parties, the community college district, the city, or the property owner. I think everyone lost. And frankly, I think the entire state lost as a result of the tool that redevelopment had been for us in Rancho Cordova.
Thank you very much. Mr. Terry, what is your answer to this question?
Well, I would tend to agree that I only would favor eminent domain in cases of public need, like fire stations, roads, things like that. But I'm confused in what actually happened with this, because the property owner had an agreement at one point to build a WinCo there, had negotiated with the community college district to sell the property, and had those contracts in place. And then at some point the city got involved and was looking at eminent domain. So I'm not privy to all of the details, and I'm not in those closed sessions. But this cost the city a lot of money. The city loaned the redevelopment agency quite a bit of money that at some point is going to have to be paid back. And unfortunately, the state did go the direction that they did. The court upheld it, and we are where we are, or struck down part of it and held up part of it. But I think in this case, and in a lot of cases along Folsom Boulevard, we need to figure out how we're going to work better with our property owners to work in concert to come up with things that are win-win, not only for the city, but for the developers. And in this case,
Thank you very much. Mr. McGarvey.
The eminent domain was something that the court said that the city did properly. And so I think it would be a long debate and pros, cons, whatever. But the 9 acres you're talking about was something that was decided in court. And as far as the college going into that, that was a separate deal with the property owner and Los Rios Community College District. The city wasn't part of that, and that was also decided in court that we weren't part of that. So that was also something that's kind of out of the way right now. The one thing that I think is really going to be helpful is in that same area, that we were going to do with redevelopment, was where the Los Rios Community College District is going to build a campus for Folsom Lake College. And that is still part of a bond that's already been passed 5 years ago. So I'm not worried about that. That is something that's going to be done.
Thank you very much. And the last person to answer our question is Mr. Danzel. And if you'd like, we can repeat the question.
Yes, please.
The short version is, do you think it's appropriate for the city to use eminent domain as a development tool? And as it concerns the case that we've been talking about, the land north of Folsom Boulevard that is owned by Lilly, what do you think the city can do to either encourage them to develop it or find a buyer?
Thank you. I too am completely and totally against using eminent domain, except for the things that have been stated already. Talking and knowing with council right now, I think that we've learned a lot from this. Losing economic development that really did hurt, but I think we've learned from it. There's ways that we can change and talk to property owners to help them make their business a better place and try and develop things that will be an asset to our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our third question will be answered first by Mr. Terry, and it will be asked by Chris Midda.
Thank you. As you know, the entire Sacramento region has been greatly affected by the recession. And in the midst of this, Rancho Cordova has been growing as a city, only 10 years old. So now that we are a city, in what ways do you feel the city council can work with other area agencies to better the city as far as the economy, housing, et cetera? And in what ways, as a city council member, would you try to work with these larger agencies to sort of lift all boats?
Sure. So Rancho Cordova has the enviable position of having over 55,000 people a day that are commuting into our city to work. We're an enormous economic job hub for the region. And that's a huge asset for us. But what we need to look at, I think, is how are we going to develop as a community and develop out as a community. One of the things in canvassing and walking out in the neighborhoods, I hear, especially when I'm south of Highway 50, is the lack of services, grocery stores, and those other things like that add to the quality of life within those neighborhoods. And then north of it, it's really, a lot of folks are talking about public safety, I think, more than anything. But when we talk regionally, we need to be working together with all of our stakeholders, SACOGs, the other cities in the county, to talk about how are we staying competitive. In instances like Campbell's Soups and Comcast closing, are a detriment to our city just like they are to the rest of the region. If VSP was to leave Rancho Cordova, that would not just be a problem for Rancho Cordova, that would be an enormous problem for the entire region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Terry. Mr. McGarvey, what is your answer to this question?
Can I have the question again?
Yes, briefly, as a member of the Rancho Cordova City Council, how do you think the council can work with other area agencies to not only lift the city economically, but to help regionally as well?
Well, I think the ability of the city to work with the regional organizations. I believe there isn't one organization right now, from the SACOG to RT to the Mosquito Vector Control Board. We represent someone in all of those organizations. And it's something that I think is helping us. Air Quality Board, for instance, they help us when we have people that want to build something in Rancho Cordova. The Air Quality Board works with us and works with them to make sure that everything is done properly, but done in a rapid way. So they don't have all the extra time, it seems like sometimes, to go through the red tape. And that's one of the things I think that businesses are really unhappy about in some places. In Rancho Cordova, they can go through it pretty fast. Very fast, as a matter of fact, and that's one of our goals, is to make sure businesses can get things done in a very rapid manner, and everything will be done properly. But we're not going to have someone that's going to have to do something one person at a time. We have everyone there at the table at the same time, so we can get things done now, and that's one of our ways.
Thank you very much. Mr. Danzel.
Great, thank you. I think there's a need and a desire to, as Councilmember McGarvey was just saying, to build in a sense, a Sacramento Regional Economic Development Council that has business, it has SACOG, it has some different entities in there that covers the whole region, because Rancho Cordova is part of this region, and to build Rancho Cordova, we need to continue to build our region. And I think there's a way we can do this, and I think that's something that I plan and strive to do for our community and the region, because that's, one hand, washes the other in that sense. We have to work together to build this. So thank you.
Thank you. And our final answerer is Mr. Sander.
Well, I think that's a superb question, and by and large, I agree with Brian Danzel on this. We've heard a lot about regional cooperation in the past few years and regionalism, and all too often, people in the suburbs, leaders in the suburbs, when they hear the word regionalism, think, well, that means that someone wants our money. Not that we have a lot of money to share, but someone wants our money. And all too often, that's actually the intent. Frankly, as a region, we're pretty broken when it comes to regionalism. There are sort of few examples I can point to that say we are really doing a great regional job of dealing with this. And when you look at successful regions around the country, particularly now when we're focused on economic development, it's exactly what you see in those regions. You see regional cooperation. So Brian Danzel's correct. We need some sort of a strategy that's larger than any given unit. We need some sort of a regional economic development strategy, and that's just one of probably a dozen examples of regional cooperation I could come up with.
Thank you. Now we'll be moving on to our fourth question to be asked by Jared Goyette. Mr. McGarvey will be answering first.
Mr. McGarvey, everyone here has a different set of experiences and background, but I'd like to know, how does your vision or plan for the city differ from your opponents? Where do you see the areas of disagreement, and why should voters choose you?
I'm not sure how much of a difference there is, but my idea of plans for the city are to grow out and to give the people what is necessary, to give the businesses what is necessary. And I think that we've been able to do that. We are limited naturally because of what the state has done on the redevelopment. The eminent domain is something that hasn't been used much. We've been successful on a couple of spots with it, but I think the fact that Rancho Cordova has the light rail going through it, it has Highway 50 going through it, we have an airport there. There are many things we can do in Rancho Cordova that I don't believe are actually available in most other cities. So I think the fact that we are going to be able to go forward in the future, and we have the tools to do so. And I think that's one of the things that we will be doing even more than we've done now. We had to plan on becoming a city, how to become a city. We've done that. Now we're working on the future, and that's our idea.
Thank you. Now, Mr. Danzel.
Wonderful, thank you. Ways that I think I can and some of the visions of mine for Rancho Cordova is, we need to create more shopping for our communities. We need to create more recreational opportunities. As been said earlier, we lost our bowling alley years and years ago, and that's something the community's asked for. I think we need to bring things like that back so our kids have something to do. When I grew up in Rancho Cordova, that's something I had to do. We had activities, and it's no fault of the cities, but times have changed. Businesses move out, and the city is looking at that bigger picture to bring that back, and that's one of my big visions also, is to give our youth something to do. We need to continue to make our streets safer. That also is a major priority for me. Our crime is down over 30% since we've taken over as a city. We have over 17% more police officers on the street than the county does. So these are things. We also need to bring more quality housing to Rancho Cordova, and I think these are things that I know that I can do as a city council member. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sander.
Thank you for the question. I think my experiences and background perhaps differs a little from typical elected official. I'm actually a scientist by training. I don't know if I'm the only elected scientist in the region, but I very well might be. And I've got, like most of the candidates here, a really pretty deep base in community organizations in Rancho Cordova, going back to CORPAC, where Bob and I served over a decade ago, or the Cordova Community Council, where Brian and I have served and do serve, or the Rancho Cordova Athletic Association, which Brian and I are kicking off, or the Chamber of Commerce. I started our 4th of July committee about 10 years ago when that event was in jeopardy. And so I'm pretty proud of those experiences, and I think it gives me a grassroots focus. On top of that grassroots focus, I can layer sort of a scientific acumen and analysis, and I'm also a small business person. So I think all of those things make me a rather unique candidate for City Council.
Thank you very much. Mr. Terry will be our last candidate.
Could you repeat the question, please?
You all have different sets of experiences, but how does your vision for the city differ from your opponents, and why should voters choose you?
Okay, because I didn't want to spend my time talking about my resume. I want to talk about, I think, where we differ. As probably, I'm pretty sure, the only candidate that lives south of Highway 50 or south of Folsom, I have to cross the light rail pretty much to get to any service, grocery, most dining options, and things like that. And I share in that kind of frustration of some of the newer neighborhoods that have been built out that are still waiting for grocery stores and the other services that I think they were expecting, or some of the schools to be built that they were expecting. And so that's where I think I differ as far as where I'm coming from. Where I want to go is I'd like to see more of those services going in. And one of the things that we have to do as a city is ensure that we have competitive fee and regulatory structures to make sure that we can continue to develop and deliver on the promise that the neighborhoods that have gone in and the folks that have moved here in the last decade or 5 years are getting the kind of city that they think that they expected. One of the things I've heard a lot about is, junior highs and a high school south of Folsom. At some point, that's going to become a reality.
Thank you very much. That is our 4th question. We're about to start with our 5th question, which will be asked by Chris Maddow. And I just realized that if we follow the pattern we followed, Mr. McGarvey would answer this question last and then have to turn around and start the closing statement first, which is a little difficult to do. So I'm going to change the order, candidates. So Mr. Danzel, you will answer this 5th question first, then we will switch to Mr. McGarvey, then we will go to Mr. Terry, and then to Mr. Sander.
Got it.
Okay? I have it numbered. It's all well thought out here. So Mr. Danzel, and everybody listen carefully to Ms. Maddow.
Thank you. One of the city's stated goals is to improve the perception of Rancho Cordova by the outside world. We all know that one of the best ways to improve that perception is through good schools. Yet in Rancho Cordova, the students are served by 4 different school districts. What, as a member of the City Council, can you do to facilitate improvement, or at least in the improved image of schools in Rancho Cordova?
Great question, Chris. Thank you. Something the city of Rancho Cordova has done, and I do currently now on the Park District, is we have 2x2s where we get 2 elected officials together from each entity, and we talk about the different concerns and the goals for our area. And I think the Rancho Cordova has done a great job of that. But I think we need to go out and talk to them about our true vision, not just for housing, shops and that, but the education, where we see and where we want our residents of Rancho Cordova to be and how we want them to be educated. I don't want to step on toes because that's not the city's job, is to tell the school districts how to run their schools, but we need to show them our goals and how to open extra doors for them that they might not have thought about at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McGarvey, you're next.
The idea of the 2x2 meetings is something that the city has been doing. We've been talking to having 2x2 meetings with the Elk Grove School District, with Folsom Cordova, and with the Sacramento City Unified School District. The San Juan, Los Rios, I'm getting that mixed up. Anyway, we only had those three because even though a part of the City of Rancho Cordova on the east side of Sunrise is in the other district, the school itself isn't in there, so we haven't had anyone come to our city asking for any thing that we can do to help them. I think the Mayor's Walk that we have the Mayor's Walk started 3 years ago, and it's continued right now, and we go to the schools, and we have teachers from the schools, we have the principals from the schools go along with us, we have the superintendent of the school district come with us, and that way we can talk to them one-on-one. The people can go on one-on-one with them, and it gives all of us an idea of what the city can do, as it's not part of our deal.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Now we go to Mr. Terry.
Well, as the only school board member that lives in the city, I think I have a little bit of a unique perspective on trying to work with our school districts. Specifically, if we look at what we've done in Lincoln Village, where we saved AM Win and we're actually changing the kind of course offerings and bringing in actually families through George Washington Carver, which is the first public Waldorf high school in the country. 50% of the kids are coming from outside of the district. So we're bringing in families and communities and diverse thoughts and into the programs. And so I think that's one way, is to look at what else we can offer and work with the school districts to offer, but then making sure that we're sitting down with the school districts and sitting down with business owners and the employers within our city, where we have great quality jobs, high-paying jobs, and figure out what do they want in a workforce, so that more of our Rancho Cordova residents can work for the VSPs and the Verizons and the Health Nets and all of these other fantastic companies and partners that we have within our city. So I think the more outreach that we can do there and figure out how we can work with them, the better.
Thank you very much. And that closes our question and answer session. Thank you very much, candidates. Thank you, panelists. Jared Goyette of the Sacramento Press. Excuse me?
Do I get a response to the last question?
I don't think he got to say anything.
No, we've never set up things for responses. Oh, did you not respond?
I
am so sorry. Okay. Mr. Sander, I am so sorry.
That's perfectly all right. You changed your order, so it's a little more challenging.
Yeah. You're right.
The question was a great one. Improve the image and work better with schools. And that certainly has been a priority for our city. As you've already heard, we've set up very proactive 2x2 discussions, or attempted to. We haven't always had great cooperations from school districts. And that's not true with Folsom Cordova School District, which is our majority district. We've had great cooperation there. The point is, we need to find a new way to communicate with them, I think beyond even the 2x2. And to that end, I've been working on behalf of the City Council on a concept called the Community Compact. We don't have a specific name yet, but the idea is you bring together the unique resources that we have in Rancho Cordova in terms of the large businesses, great volunteer feeling in the community and ability to rouse people up to help when necessary, and our need to improve our school test scores. We think through this compact we'll be able to bring those together in an organized way and really magnify that partnership to greater test scores and even greater experiences for kids in Rancho Cordova schools. We're excited about it.
Thank you very much. And again, I apologize.
That's all right.
I've totally lost track of things. Okay, now we're going to closing statements. But first, let me thank Jared Goyette of the Sacramento Press and Chris Maddow of the Grapevine Independent. I almost called you international. Par for the course. Thank you very much for coming out and asking your questions. Now, our closing statements will be 1 minute each, and Mr. McGarvey will start.
Thank you for giving us the opportunity, as I said earlier, to speak and answer the questions that we've been given. We're going to be working on the image of Rancho Cordova. That's something that has been very hard to grasp sometimes, but I think we're doing a very good job on that. One of the things we're doing, we have postcards. That seems like a little thing, but when you can go to a hotel and you can get a postcard from Rancho Cordova, you can send it to someone home. If you don't have any postcards from there, you can send a postcard from a city that's close to your city. That doesn't quite do it. You can have pictures, you can have a little history of what the city is. I'm working on getting what's called a Veterans Village. I'm working very hard for veterans here in Rancho Cordova because this will be 4 acres. We'll have 120 apartments for homeless and veterans who really need some help. It'll be for 3 different phases: veterans who really need close to the hospital, homeless veterans, and then the last 30 will be for women veterans who have families and they need a place also. So that's just another one of the things that we're working in Rancho Cordova.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Now we go to Mr. Terry for your 1-minute closing.
Thank you, and again, thank you for the league for hosting us. Again, my name's Donald Terry, and I'm a candidate for the City Council and a current school board member. I'm finishing up my last 4 years. It's been an honor serving my neighborhoods, and I think we've had some amazing wins, and I'd like to take that same approach to the City Council and to try to create jobs, build our communities, and have better schools. Specifically, my top 3 priorities are going to be public safety and making sure that our residents feel safe each and every day when they walk out of their home and when they come home at night. I want to fill more of those vacant properties and more of those vacant storefronts that we have right now on Folsom Boulevard by outreaching to businesses and potential entrepreneurs so that they have the skills and the technical assistance so that they can succeed and to ensure that they have the capital that they need to open their businesses. And then third, I want to make sure that we understand the differences between our neighborhoods. What the north side of 50 is concerned about is a lot of public safety, and when we talk about the south side of 50, we're talking about grocery stores and dining options and a lot of other things, and I'll be focused on each of those neighborhoods.
Thank you very much. Next we move to Mr. Sander.
I started this discussion today by saying that I'm proud of Rancho Cordova, and I really am proud of Rancho Cordova, and I hope it showed in my answers today. I've led a number of efforts at City Hall that I'm also proud of. Our Growing Strong Neighborhoods initiative and its myriad of efforts. Our community compact with schools that I just talked about. The Sacramento Children's Museum, which we brought to our City Hall campus just about a year ago. The All-America City Award that we won about 2 years ago. The partnership, the unique partnership we have with the Cordova Community Council. I'm very proud of my role in all of those accomplishments. And I've even recruited a company or 2 to come to Rancho Cordova. I'm proud of these things, but I know that we can accomplish so much more. And so in the next 4 years, my focus is going to be, number 1, on public safety, number 2, on jobs and enhancing that already strong pillar of our community, and finally, in improving our quality of life. Because I want to take Rancho Cordova to that future that is truly greater than its past.
Thank you. And our final closing statement will be from Brian Danzel.
Great. Thank you for inviting us here today to speak to the residents of Rancho Cordova and all of you. For me, as I stated earlier, Rancho Cordova is my home. That's where I've made my family. I love every aspect of it. Being part of the City Council is just that it's finally giving a chance for me to give back to the people who raised me, my community. Some of the things that I definitely will work on is public safety. Being married to a police officer, I understand public safety. Jobs and economic development are also keys. Looking at every aspect of Rancho Cordova, it is a one community. It's not a division between north and south. It is one community, and that's how we need to work as one community. Working with the Cordova Community Council has given me a great opportunity, and some of the people that I've been endorsed by, Sheriff Scott Jones, Supervisor Roberta McGlashan, majority of the Rancho Cordova City Council, and local other agencies. So on November 6th, please vote for me, Brian Danzel, for Rancho Cordova.
And thank you. That concludes the closing statements from our 4 candidates. On behalf of the League of Women Voters of Sacramento County and on behalf of the Sacramento Metropolitan Cable Television Commission, or as I like to call it, Metro Cable Channel 14, we thank all 4 of you for participating today. Remember, this is the Rancho Cordova City Council. There are 3 open seats. If you would like to see rebroadcasting of this particular forum, we urge you to go to our Smart Voter website. That is www.smartvoter.org. You can also look at the League's website, which is www.lwvsacramento.org. Remember, this is rebroadcast on Metro Cable Channel 14 periodically. We urge you all to come back and look at it again. We thank all 4 of our candidates here. On the far right, Brian Danzel. Next to me, Mr. Sander, David Sander. Donald Terry to my left and Robert McGarvey to my far left. Thank you all very much. Please remember to turn out and vote on November 6th. Please vote and make our democracy work. Thank you very much.